Rose. I'm the National Director of Performance Programs at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and it's an absolute honor and a privilege for me to introduce you tonight to some of the filmmakers and cast of The Secret Agent. I want to start by bringing up somebody who had an immense job. There are so many actors in this movie. Please welcome casting director Gabriel Domingues. And playing Bobby, the role of Bobby, Gabriel Leone. Welcome playing Fatima, Alice Carvalho. And we have a guest of honor who will be arriving very shortly. But before he gets here, I'm kind of glad it's going to give us a start, a time to get sort of started and lay the scene. And maybe I can start with you, Gabriel, just because there are so many speaking roles in this movie. It was like such an immense job for you. What pictures did Clever give you? What kind of vision did he give you about the world he wanted you to create?
Well, first of all, good night for everybody. Clever had a very rich universe in his mind about this movie, because he lived in Recife in the 70s, and he also did a documentary about it, and he has a very deep research about the images and the sounds and the people from the 70s. And
here comes the Best Actor Award winner from this year's Wagner Moura.
I'm so sorry I'm late. No.
You wouldn't do this to Clever, would you?
No, I mean, it was just like, it's so frantic. I'm sorry.
So I just asked Gabriel about his initial conversations with Clever and the world that he was asked to populate.
yes, and Clever had on his mind very rich in detail and specific characteristics on the characters. So first of all, we had a deep conversation about every one of them, and well, it was a process of trying to think as a system of characters, using the same system as Clever used in his other movies, like mixing people in different stages of careers, and people who were in Bacurau and Aquarius, his other movies, and people who we didn't know, and we did a lot of research to find them, and we did open calls and received a lot of material from actors from the Northeast region of Brazil.
We're going to get deeper into that. But since we have you here, Wagner, I want to know, I know that you and Clever have a relationship of many, many years, but more recently your relationship was maybe, we could say, forged in political fire, which maybe led to the circumstances of making this movie. Can you tell us what that collaboration and the work process between you was from the beginning?
Yeah, from the beginning. I met Clever 20 years ago in Cannes Film Festival. He used to be a critic back then, a very mean one. Very bad reviews of films that I've done. But somehow we hit it off because we're both from the same region, from the Northeast, and Alice is from the Northeast as well. Gabriel is not, but he's great. and we hit it off, but when I went back to Brazil, I I knew that he had directed some short films, and I was looking for the short films, and I was like, Mike, I saw the short films, and it was, that critic can direct, those short films were great, but it was only in 2012 when I saw his first feature film, a film called Neighborhood Sounds. Have you seen this film? Yes, it's when I saw that film, I was like, I thought that I had seen one of the greatest Brazilian films ever. I thought that that was a film deeply grounded in the tradition of the Brazilian political films, and I became obsessed in working with him. But what really brought us together in this project was actually politics. What was going on in Brazil from 2018 to 2022. This film was because Clara and I, we were both very vocal against what was going on, against the fascist president that was who is in jail right now. He's not in jail for attempting against Brazilian democracy. But we were both very vocal against him, and we both suffered the consequences of that. The film that we're going to screen later tonight, my film Marighella, was censored in Brazil because of the circumstances. And so Kleber and I started to talk about it, and because that was a time that that person was bringing back the values of the dictatorship to Brazil in the 21st century. So that's how we started to talk about making a film together.
So I understand how you got to the theme of the movie. How did you create this character that would be the vehicle for this story, and maybe an unlikely hero?
Yeah, so Marighella, for example, the film that I directed, is also a film that's set during the dictatorship, but it's a film about about the leader of the armed resistance against the dictatorship, a real character. So he was a freedom fighter, a man who fought against the dictatorship. In this case, what I like about what I find interesting and different about the secret agent is that the secret agent, my character in the secret agent, is just a dude. Is that most of the victims of the dictatorships are regular, normal people, that are, of course, I mean, I made a film about someone who fought against it. I mean, my admiration for these people is huge, but the majority of the victims of the dictatorship are people that are just trying to live their lives. This is, for me, the character that I play in this film is just a man who's trying to stick with the values that he has when everything around him is saying the opposite. And that's kind of, requires courage as well.
Absolutely, and we see throughout the story how noble he is. And I want to come back to you because I do feel like it is an extremely nuanced and super subtle, incredible performance. So we'll dig in a little bit more. But first I want to hear about Gabriel and Elise. Like, how did you first, both of you, hear about this movie? And I want to speak to the three of you maybe about what the audition called for, what your preparation was, and get into that process with you. Elise, maybe you can tell us first.
Thank you for having me here tonight. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to play that role. I was doing a support in Brazil, filming from Monday to Saturday night, almost 14 scenes by day. It's crazy. But then I remember that a Wednesday night, Emily called me and she said that they had some setbacks and they needed me as soon as I could. And she said 2 words, Wagner Moura herself, of course. And then I went there like on the very next Sunday, I think so. And I didn't have able time to read the full script and to prepare myself. But when I read the scene, it's something familiar to me. That kind of prejudice in that table, and it's some kind of way of treat black women in Brazil that's very similar back in the 70s and still nowadays. So I really know what we were talking about there. And I remember that you sent me a message and you told me that we don't need a rehearsal, and I said, yeah, of course. I did this part since I was born. And this kind of cameo is so challenging because it requires a lot of precision, right? Because the shorter the cameo, the harder it is, because I think that scene is like a multi-layered portrayal of this kind of Brazilian women and brave women and how they are treated, but also because it shows what she meant to her partner and to her dad, and how brave she was. And I think that was hard because I just had 2 minutes to show that, and to make some demonstration of why is everybody missing her. And I think that after this scene, we feel more sad when we knew that Fernando forgot her at the end of the scene, at the end of the film. And I just had 2 minutes, and of course I didn't write the whole script. And I think that when I first saw the film on Cannes, and we were there, and I saw all that pictures of Fatima, and that specific picture when I was just a child, and then in the first frame of the movie I was there with you, and I was like, oh my God, this is a huge role. She's enormous. And then I found out that she's the last part of the puzzle. So it's a huge responsibility, and thank God that I did it right. And I just did it because I was with you. I need to say that, because in case of you don't know, he's one of the biggest reference to an entire generation of young actresses and actors, specifically from the northeast of the country. You don't know what this guy means for us. That's it. I just did it because I was with him. We were just meeting there.
We started the rehearsing with another actress, right? Like for this, and she was great, but you know. And I remember calling Clever at night and was just saying, like, she's great, man, but she's not doing. And it's really hard because as a fellow actor, you want to protect your other fellow, but she wasn't right, and then we were like, oh, listen, we have to call Lisa. But she's doing so much, she's busy. Let's try to get her. And then she was really brave because she came like. You came and you were shooting. You had 1 day, right? Like you were only on her 1 day off in the Super. She came. We took the pictures, and then she came back the next week, and we shot the scene. And as you can see, it's a great scene.
It is a really intense scene, and with all due respect, it's a lot of trust that you were just like, no, it's her, let's go. So what gave you that confidence? And how many takes? I mean, it's so intense, but did you spend all day filming? How many takes did you have to do?
I think that we took the whole day doing just that scene, right? I think that the final scene that you just saw is a match of a lot of improvisation, and Kleber did it in a very cleverly way. Like, it wasn't money case. Like, he's talking about this kind of prejudice against women like me and showing his vulnerability, but I think that he did it in a very clever way. It's not a little money case. So I think that, we took a whole day and a lot of takes.
Because I think it was a scene that we were finding the tone of the scene while we were doing it. So we improvised a little, and we went back and forth. But your energy was the energy this scene. This is energy that led the whole thing. It was her presence, her.
I remember we both were very nervous, right? That scene.
Yeah.
And I remember that after every take, we go outside of the set because we were melting. It was shot during the day, and because of my schedule too. And I remember that we settled together, and I look at you and I say, I don't know, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, but it's I love the scene and the power of the scenes, of course, is obviously.
You fly at the end. It's so intense. It's amazing. So, Bobby, Gabrielle, for you.
You can call me Bobby.
It's a compliment. Did you audition?
So just like Wagner said, I've always was a fan of Kleber's movies and always wanted to work with him. And always wanted to work with Wagner, just like Alicia said, is, I'd say, my biggest reference as an actor and an idol, a personal idol for me, not only because of his acting skills, but also because of the human being he is and the choices he's been making through his career. So there was these two big things calling me to this movie. But the script what really engaged me to the project. The script is amazing, and I remember when we watched the movie in Cannes, and I was talking to Wagner, and I asked him, I was like, how many scenes were cut from the original script? And I think only one. And this is super rare, because we're used to, to have a script, even if it's a good script, but then when you get to the final cut, a lot of things change the order, but Kleber, I think he really did the best script of his life, and as he said, he always says that, and he was so precise, and he knew from the beginning the story he wanted to tell and the way he wanted to tell. So when I first read the script, I was here in LA, I was spending some time here, and I was like really moved by the script, and in that moment I knew I wanted to be part of the project. And then I had a talk with Kleber, and he said, I need someone for this role that will that will add some presence for the role and for the scenes, because I don't talk much on the movie, but that's why he wanted the guy who played Bobby to have like a strong presence. And I remember Kleber saying that it's a funny story. He was watching Ferrari, Michael Mann's movie. I was in it, and he was watching it. And when I first entered scene, Kleber said he asked Emily, his partner, was like, "Who's this actor?" And Emily said, "He's Brazilian." Kleber was like, "He's Brazilian," because Kleber doesn't watch much television, so he didn't know I was Brazilian. And he was like, I think this guy could be in The Secret Agent. So yeah, I got really excited about collaborating with him and building this character in the smallest details, and like the heart lollipop was an idea of mine. Because since I was like, it was about being present in all of those scenes, I wanted to be remarkable in a way, and it was, I had to say, it was one of the most pleasant process I've ever done in my entire career, because even if we were talking about like a heavy period of Brazilian history, but still, like, the set was so chilled, and we were always hanging out together and having a great time together, all of us. And so it was just one of the best times ever.
It was, and it's interesting because I've done films where everything was great, the set was great, everybody's getting along, and the film was so bad. And the opposite, because sometimes you make a film and the process is very chaotic and everything is crazy, and the film ends up being good. This was great. Since
That's what we're
since the beginning.
Was there a key scene or something that made you clue in to Bobby about who he was specifically that made everything make sense?
I think when the guy hired us to kill him, and I have his photo on my hand, and the guy describes how he wants us to kill him, the way he wants to destroy his face. And my character's like having fun with that, you know. And that's like was a key scene for me to understand that that guy represents this aggressive, violent energy that during the dictatorship was allowed, you know, was imposed to exist. So even if he's quiet, but still he enjoys being aggressive and being violent and living through that period of time.
Yeah. Seems like it's crazy, but I think the story is very prescient. I want to ask you, Wagner, I heard that you drew upon sort of your own family, uncles, and your own father in your preparation to play this role. Can you tell us about that?
It's just like the film takes place in '77. I was born in '76, but at the same time, that doesn't feel that long. For me, the memories of it's like opening an album of photographs. Like the way my father used to wear that kind of shirt, like open up with the chest.
Everybody watched the video.
Yeah, I watched it.
Everybody watched it twice, all the time.
And I was like, wow, that was exactly how my father used to wear his shirt. And but things like that. But I think that most of all, there was. For me, I mean, I had directed a film that also took place in the dictatorship, so I had studied a lot about what Brazil was socially, economically, politically, culturally during the dictatorship. But that was not. I feel that the dictatorship, the dictatorship from '64 to '85. But I feel that it didn't really end in '85. I think that we still live with the echoes of the dictatorship in Brazil. Somehow it feels very familiar. My interest in directing a film about that time is because I felt that somehow we still live like this president, Bolsonaro, is a physical manifestation of that. You know, Brazil is a country that's like full of beautiful things and diversity and culture, and it's very progressive in many ways. I think our constitution is the most progressive constitution in the world. There was many great things, but also Brazil is a country based upon lots of racism. It's the last country in the world to abolish slavery. It's like coup d'etats after coup d'etats, violence, misogyny, homophobia. That's there too. You know, colonialism, imperialism. So I feel that these things are that when we talk about the dictatorship, we're talking about something bigger than the dictatorship. We're talking about a logic that somehow is still present in the country.
I think that's
Everything you just discussed is something that's so beautiful about this film. Like, it is all drawn, it is all here. It all exists in the myriad of people who are on screen and all of those visuals. And I'm wondering for you, because you are number one on the call sheet throughout this whole story, you're interacting with a myriad of characters. You know, this fabulous landlady, Donna Sebastiana, the fabulous Patrick, you know, who basically, Gabrielle was saying earlier, was a background player in one of Kleber's other films, amazing, she gets this opportunity, she can do it, she's fabulous. But throughout the film, you're interacting with the petrol attendant, so many different people with different levels of experience in terms of their acting. But you are always Marcelo or, you know, Armando, Fernando. So how does Wagner, as the actor, you know, because there are so many brilliant scenes that make up this story, how do you traverse all of these different scene partners?
I feel like Dorothy. I was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Many great characters and on my way to Oz. I think listen, it's about, I think there are like 15 characters. It's amazing how Clever manages to take care of each single character.
It's just like the Avengers. I feel you're the
Who would I be in the Avengers?
You're Iron Man. I think you're, no, seriously, I think you're the glue through all these characters, you know? You like the one thing that make them all together.
I'm thinking of the Avengers now.
I mean, I think you have to be a very present, incredible actor, actually, to be able to have all of those scene partners.
Yeah, you have, and you of course actors with like Alicia and Gabriel were two of the greatest, youngest actors in Brazil right now. They're like professional actors, extraordinary actors. But also, there are non-professional. They're all actors, but there are some actors that are not professional actors. Dona Tânia, who plays Dona Sebastiana, who is. You see, like, the first scene that I shot in the film is the scene where she's showing me the apartment, and you can see me, there's a shot that's me just like that. It's me fine, just looking at her like, in awe of that moment, you know, it's just like, but it's different levels of, you have to help them to feel comfortable in that, this. I thought it was my job to feel, because like, just like Alicia said, it's hard to jump in a train that's moving already. Like it's really difficult. I mean, I've done that as an actor as well. The train is moving, you have to jump in there, do your thing, and get, you know. So I thought it was my job to make everybody feel good and comfortable with the different non-professional actors. Amazing actors, professional. So I should work with Clever to make everybody feel good, and it wasn't that hard. It was people felt good because it was a good environment.
It wasn't that hard for you. It's an incredible job. They're going to kill me because they have to start in your next film soon.
Yes, and I want people to see. I mean, I know that some of you are going to go, but it would be great if some of you stayed. I'm really proud of that.
Before we go, I do just want to quickly touch, because it is exceptional. We've all seen you in, I hope everybody's seen Elite Squad. If you haven't, I recommend it. Dope, Thief, Narcos, Civil War. We've seen you play different characters, but to do so in the same film and get away with like an air of resemblance of a father you didn't know, but a very different character. Can you very quickly, I'm so sorry.
Like the end of the film?
Yeah, Fernando.
It's crazy because that was my last day of shooting. And I decided not to think about it. I thought that I had to live under the skin of his father in order to play the absence of the father. Right? So if I was very much in living with Armando myself, I would play the absence of that person when I was playing the son. Because when I think about the character, I don't think about me. I think about the little boy. This is a film about memory, or the lack of memory, and lack of collective memory, lack of individual memory. And this is an issue in our country, unfortunately. Still, we are finally getting even with that when we sent people that attempted against democracy in Brazil to jail for the first time. So, but we have this problem. Like we have this thing in Brazil called amnesty law that basically forgave torturers, killers. And so I think that character specifically is a character that represents many people that they didn't have the chance to grow up with their parents, for example. They didn't even know who their parents were. And in that case, it's even worse because it's a man who grows up, because the way Cleber chooses to show how Armando died through the newspaper is very cruel, because it's a picture with him dead, but also what really strikes me is the headlines are like, corrupt professor killed. So they kind of killed him twice. They killed him and then they killed his reputation. So to that kid, like many other people in Brazil, grew up with that kind of feeling. And you have to wrap it.
Wagner, if you allow me, today's January 8th. So I guess
Yes.
we're learning.
Yes,
Learning not to forget.
Yes, that's very well put. That's right. That's January 8th. So it's a very important lesson.
Yeah, it's a great lesson for all of us. We see how.
Go Brazilian institutions. Yeah, we're doing great. We're doing great.
Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you.